The Brotherhood's siege is in vain. I am Dracul, Prince of Darkness.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 Prince of Darkness difficulty walkthrough. We are wearing a shower curtain, or just a normal curtain in fact, and we're following our child down Smack Dealer Alley, which, you know, nothing's going to go wrong here. We've never seen a Batman movie where his entire family gets murdered by a mugger, but we are Dracula, so one would think we do have swag points, and after this quick cutscene, you're going to get brutalised by this goat demon thing. And I really like the outfit that Dracula's wearing at this point. I like how he's got all bandages on his hands and all the crazy rings. He looks like some kind of drunken gypsy traveller dude. You know, like a fortune teller. And he loses it when he gets all rejuvenated and fucking has a quickening, which is annoying. Because I was hoping that there would be different costumes in the game. But there aren't. So after that sequence, the game really liked the end of God of War 3, so I thought we'll put one of them sequences in. And you slit this dude's throat because you're a nice fella, and then you proceed to suck his wife's neck, which is even nicer, even though she's got a child. And I really don't understand this sequence at all. I think it's trying to show that vampires are badass, but I think it's a little bit too heavy on the shock value. You know, I think they're trying to offend people, which a lot of games do that, but what can you do? And now we're in the future, in the Sciences District, in the Bioquimek Corporation, or whatever it's bloody called. I assume it's French Canada because, oh my, just why? This is where the game gets insane, it really does. So in the future, I say in the future, it's present day. There's skyscrapers, there's taxis, there's drug dealers, there's all sorts of great stuff happening. What is the first thing the game developers have you do? Infiltrate a generic factory biochemical corporation. And I'm not even lying. That is the first thing they have you do after the intro. A fantastic new setting, and they immediately throw you into pipey, steamy, dark tunnels and a warehouse. Like, it's just completely baffling. The one thing missing from Lord of Shadows was stealth sections. All the fans demanded it, and we got them. But the thing that was also missing that we didn't realise we wanted was generically grey, terrible warehouses. When there's so many cool things to do in present-day locations. Like, the outside of this building is really cool. There's fire hydrants and boxes and cars that you can't break, which is annoying. And we're going in here, this dingy grey dungeon with red pipes and strobe lighting, like, come on, fellas, this is not even funny. Like, I was stunned this was the first thing they had you doing, and I was even more stunned that before you actually fight anything on this first sequence, you're doing stealth sections. But they introduce you to the concept of throwing daggers at this door, and aside from a couple of magical interactions later on, you never have to do that ever again, which is really strange. And this is the change into rats. So a lot of people have said they don't like this. I kind of do. I think it's hilarious. I think turning into rats is a cool idea. My problem is, I don't think they could have made these sections any more mundane. Like, you do nothing as a rat. The rat can't even climb a 1-inch lip. It can't do anything. There's no rat combat, you know, fighting an equally savvy cockroach. There's no, I don't know. There's nothing to them. They do nothing. They add nothing to the game, you know. There's nobody who's going to look back on this game and say, these sections are why I played. And they're just completely superfluous. They achieve nothing. And there's this big fella here with a gun who, if he sees you, he pretty much instantly kills you. You can't fight him. In an action game, you can't fight the giant dude. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. We took down Satan, yet we can't fight, you know, Warhammer 40,000 fucking Space Marine number 9. So instead we get inside him and we do that. But if you weren't paying attention because you're too busy listening to me rant about the insanity that is that design choice, you had to get past him with the rats to distract him, or to get behind him, and then you had to get into his body so you could open this door. And the stealth sections don't really get much more complicated than that. You control rats to do menial tasks, to subvert big fellas so you can get past them. That is literally it. And the reviewers have been incredibly harsh on the stealth sections for good reason. They don't belong in the game, nobody wants them, and they're not any fun. But I don't think that they're offensive, because they're so just bland. Like, I think I would have preferred if they were offensive, because at least then the developers would have tried something so egregious that it would have really bugged people. But I think it's the fact that they just feel lazy. They just feel really, really poor. Like, somebody played Arkham Asylum and was like, Jesus Christ, we need to add something into this, because this detective mode, you know, these hunter areas are so good, this predator stuff feels cool. But they didn't grasp the full comprehension of what that mechanic was, so they put in this lackluster, really, really terrible one instead. And the sad truth is, you literally spend more time doing that in some parts of this game than you do fighting. And this is a game about fighting. You know, the combat in it is probably the finest aspect of it, because it sure as shit ain't the fucking platforming. It ain't the stealth. It ain't the story. Like, it won't be the puzzles, because they're just not here. Like, one of the biggest parts of Lords of Shadow was these sequences that were these really elaborate and interesting looking puzzles that usually weren't as fun to solve as they looked like they should have been, but they were still really strange and really creative. All of that is gone. All the puzzles now are those stealth sequences you've just seen, and environmental hazard puzzles. That is it. And they're nowhere near as prevalent, so if you were like me, who thought the puzzles were a good idea but you just kind of didn't like them, then this game is going to be so much better for you, because they're not here. And it's another one of the nails in the coffin of the Lords of Shadow legacy, because they made that game unique. They were intrinsic to what that experience was, and they've stripped it dead and clean. And it's very strange. Same with the Titans. I hated the Titans. I thought they looked great. I thought climbing them was tedious and stupid. You know, I thought if you're going to rip off Shadow of Colossus, at least do it better, when considering this game was like 10 years after that game, and that game is one of the best games ever made, and you just really didn't understand the joy of climbing, which was that game. They're not in this game. There's not even one. There are 2 instances where you climb bosses, and both of them are nowhere near what they were before. It's like, if I could have one person in the games industry to talk to, in spite of all the people I want to talk to, I would talk to the dev team for this game, because I don't get it. Like, I've already read parts on news sites for games and things like that, mentioning that the creative director for this game essentially choked it so much with his ego that half the people working on the game agreed that they were releasing a piece of shit, which I think is incredibly harsh. But when you're a creative person and you're working on something that you love and believe in, if you see flaws in it, or there's something that's happening that you don't like, you are critical of yourself. You're extremely critical. And I don't think there's anything more frustrating than knowing what you're doing is not as good as it should be and not being able to change it. So that frustration must be crazy. But at the same time, that's only one side of the story. So I would love to talk to the creative director and ask him to his fucking face, and I might get fired and never do another interview in my life. But, you know, essentially word it along the lines of, there's been, you know, this anonymous whistleblower who said you were an utter cunt throughout the dev cycle and that your ego essentially poisoned the game. What do you have to say about this? Because I'm extremely curious as to what he would say. Because this is not the same game that anybody was expecting, I don't think. I don't think anybody, even if you love this game, even if you don't think it's got a single thing wrong, you have to admit, this is not the sequel you thought it was going to be. Because it just isn't. And it's fascinating. And it's fun, which is the most important thing. But thank you for watching anyhow, guys. There will be more strategy to talk when I need to. But as you've just seen, there's a lot of traversal, there's a lot of quiet moments. There's a ton of quiet moments, actually. It's really strange. But, yeah, thanks for watching. You take care now.